Greetings YouTube, and welcome to what I finally think is the last video on a bizarre series of videos I've made about an issue I never thought I would talk about because a month ago I didn't know such a thing could even exist, and even as I'm talking about it now and I'm seeing the evidence, it's still so hard to believe this is possible, and yet it has now been confirmed that it is. If you have missed the ongoing videos of the series, and this is the first one that you clicked on, first, thanks for clicking on this video, but second, to catch you up, I just want you to imagine a very scary scenario. Imagine you were me. Imagine you were Prof Huff. I know that probably would terrify you. This is just a scenario. It's not real life, so, just make believe. And you checked your Line app one day, and you received a message from a stranger that you had never talked to, you'd never met. It was a message from somebody that popped up in your inbox that said with 100% certainty that they claimed they were so good at the game in Alliance War with your favorite player, Quake, that they knew that caused them to be unfairly banned from the contest temporarily. I don't know how you would respond to that, but let me tell you how I responded to that. I responded to it twofold. One, with extreme skepticism to the point of almost laughter. How could someone be so good at a game that they were incorrectly and wrongfully banned? And the second thing is, I thought it really set a dangerous precedent that somebody could maybe be covering up a really serious thing they did wrong, like hacking, for example, by trying to justify that instead of cheating, they were just too good at the game. So I didn't give the person what they wanted. I didn't make a video. I didn't really bring the issue up at all to the community. I just ignored it and hoped it would go away. And I was even tempted to block this user, thinking that they were probably just spamming my account. But I said, you know what, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, and I'll leave the line of communication open, but I won't really entertain the idea because I strictly and simply don't think that there's any evidence to support this very, very serious claim that they were so good at the game that they broke Kabam's mechanics, that they broke the computer that determined whether or not your account would be flagged and suspended ultimately. So, days went by. I forgot all about that message. And then, in the next week or so, I received not one but two of the same messages from different people who had never met each other that they believed the reason why their account was terminated or suspended was for the exact same reason. And at this point, a pattern had occurred to the point that there was a story out there, but the story wasn't whether or not these people were telling the truth because there was no way for me to actually prove that. The story was simply there are people out there that believe they are so good at the game with the champion that they are basically being falsely and unjustifiably banned because Kabam had an automated system that took down their account because they were fighting too well in Alliance War. And so if you go back and you watch that video, I tried very hard to not take a stance on it. I just presented the facts how they were, and I was still extremely skeptical, even by the end of it, that these people were telling the truth. The bigger story was that there were several people, it was a minority of course, but still several people who were using this as a justifiable reason for them and claiming that they did nothing wrong. And I was also skeptical because if you recall, Kabam did something that I wish they did more often, and that's a ban wave for all people caught using mods or hacking into arena software to manipulate the arena system to drive up arena scores, which has been a problem since I started playing this game years ago and continues to be if they only do this about once every 3 months. So my belief was and still is that some of the people who posted on Reddit and some of the people who reached out to me personally who claimed that they were too good with Quake were probably just covering up for the fact that they were hacking or modding the arena and they wanted to save their face. But obviously that wasn't true for everyone because after I thought the issue had been put to rest and we would just never know, I received multiple screenshots from the same user that contacted me first that were essentially showing an apology from Kabam with a, at the time, very generous compensation package, although now it has been confirmed that this user, among others, who had their account suspended for weeks, did not get or qualify for Alliance War season rewards, and they were in the master brackets. So when you look at it through that lens, the compensation package is worse than what they would have gotten had they gotten those rewards. And it's also worse had they been able to claim the fully formed Tier 2 Alpha at the end of the January login calendar. So, upon further review of not getting Alliance War Seasons rewards, actually they still took a hit for sure, not to mention all of the rewards and the progress that they missed by having their account banned for weeks. So I thought that the last part of this story would be just talking about the fact that there was this huge compensation package as an apology that under no specific terms seemed to corroborate and to cooperate with the claim that Quake was too good and that these players were too good with Quake. So I thought that was it. But little did I know that the summoner that contacted me at the very beginning and kept updating me throughout this process not only reached out to me, but they also reached out to the Better Business Bureau because they were so enraged by the fact that they believed that their account was wrongfully suspended that they wanted to open a legal issue against Kabam, which is a very, very serious thing. Now, Kabam is going to talk, for understandable reasons, to the Better Business Bureau a little bit differently than they're going to talk to us when we open a help request, because they have a lot more to lose if they ignore or tick off the Better Business Bureau than they do a summoner who has very little power in the realm of appeals. So their message, which I have cropped to protect, all identities involved, their message to everybody, including the summoner, gives us, finally, in writing, proof that these Quakers were right. The message reads, from the business, hello, thank you for reaching out to us at Kabam Support. We apologize for any inconvenience caused by the temporary suspension of your account, a lot of inconvenience that is, as well as any frustration caused by our team's previous responses to this concern, which were terrible. Upon review, it has been determined that a complex set of circumstances triggered a temporary suspension. That was their original claim, which is very vague, but watch how they follow this up. While we can confirm that this incident was due to the use of Quake in the Alliance War game mode to maintain the integrity of our tracking and reviewing methods, we will be unable to provide any additional details on the exact circumstances related to this matter. Well, they don't need to do that because they just gave us the exact specifics of and circumstances of the matter. That, once again, they confirmed it was due to the use of Quake in the Alliance War game mode. So then, you go on. In addition to removing the temporary suspension on your account, we granted a number of items as compensation for the inconvenience caused by this incident. Your alliance was also rewarded any points that were deducted from the current season of Alliance Wars due to the situation. Now, personally, I don't think that's enough. If it was me and I didn't get the Alliance War season's rewards that I should have gotten and should have received because my account was unfairly banned, I would demand that those rewards were reinstated to my account, and that would be the only time that I would finally feel better. Still not great, but certainly better than they do right now about the situation. But until then, this is all just helping everybody else in the Alliance, not the person that was wrongfully banned. If you've not done so already, please check your game account's inbox for a message containing the compensation items that were granted. Now, I realize that Kabam, even though they're a huge company, still isn't staffed enough to have human beings go in and check every single account to make sure if they're modding all the time. And that's why they have these automated software systems that are supposed to flag different accounts. And I don't have an answer to you regarding how this situation is avoided in the future. But what I do know is that this is concrete evidence that the claim of the use of Quake in the Alliance War game mode led to the ban has been confirmed. So I don't know if I will ever see this again. I highly doubt it in my YouTube career. I don't know if I will get a claim that somebody is so good with the champion that they bypassed the Kabam servers and made it to where they were basically accused of being a robot, that they were playing so well that it was impossible for a human being to be able to play in the way that they were playing. Quake is such a unique champion that there really is no other champion that can produce not even any block registering and 0 hits either received or taken or delivered, I should say, to the opponent in order to win multiple matches at the highest level, especially if you're in a top 10 master bracket. So there you have it, YouTube. This is the last of a surprising series of videos on an issue that I, quite frankly, thought was not only ridiculous, but so unbelievable that it was borderline insane to having the proof right in front of me and just being able to think, wow, this is pretty crazy. This is pretty historic indeed. So I hope you had your popcorn ready for this video and that you now see what I see, which is an interesting amount of evidence. And I want to end this video by saying I still think just because this happened doesn't mean that a user couldn't do other things that were unethical or illegal and not get away with it. This doesn't clear someone of all charges. This just proves one charge. So the idea that you could still be somebody who gains access to a competing alliance at the top and spies on them and gets defensive strategies or whatever and then leaves the alliance and returns to a different alliance, that can still happen, and yet you can still be unfairly banned for too good of play with Quake and Alliance War. It's not an either-or situation. It's not a black or white situation. The life is all about the gray middle, and two things can be true at the same time. And in this case, we know at least one thing is true, and that is that the use of Quake in Alliance War game mode was confirmed to be the thing that triggered a temporary suspension, the exact words of this post. So thank you again to all summoners that reached out to me for this. I believe this is the last time I'll be talking about this on my channel, unless it happens again. But until then, thanks for watching and being a part of the news updates of this. Still kind of crazy to believe it happened, and yet, well, it did.